Major companies have been giving it their all for women rights, with McDonald's flipping their arches from an M to a W for women, and Barbie creating dolls in the image of powerful women from history. Yet we should look to history for inspiration as we continue to wage these battles. That's why we'll highlight some of the powerful, inspiring women who changed the world for the better. Please don't forget to subscribe and tell us in the comment section what topic you need us to bring up next. Number 1. Amelia Earhart. The first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, Amelia Earhart made aviation history and then disappeared into thin air. While the controversy over where, when, and how Earhart disappeared when she attempted to circumnavigate the globe in 1937 is still a topic of conversation, Earhart's feats as a pioneer for female pilots should not be forgotten. In 1932, Earhart completed a 15-hour flight from Harbour Grace, Newfoundland, to Derry, Ireland, becoming just the second person to complete such a trip, and overcoming fatigue, a leaky fuel tank, and a cracked manifold that spewed flames out the side of the engine cowling along the way, according to reports published at the time. Her flight set the stage for other female pilots, including Annie Devia, who recently became the youngest ever woman to pilot a Boeing 777. Number 2. Althea Gibson. Well, before Venus and Serena Williams dominated the courts, there was Althea Neal Gibson. Gibson was the first African American to play tennis at Wimbledon, the world's oldest tennis tournament, which she did in 1950. She would later go on to become the first black woman to play in the PGA Tour, breaking a second color barrier in professional golf. On and off the court, the multi-sport athlete never cowed to external pressure, once telling reporters, "I am not afraid of any of these players," in advance of a major tennis match. Number 3. Valentina Tereshkova. Most people have probably heard of the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. But what about the first woman in space? That would be Valentina Tereshkova, a Soviet cosmonaut who in 1963 spent just under 3 days in space, orbiting Earth 48 times. Tereshkova was born to poor, farm-working parents, but would ultimately be honored with the title of Hero of the Soviet Union as well as win a United Nations Gold Medal of Peace. Number 4. Dolores Huerta. A living legend, Dolores Huerta has organized for labor rights, especially in Latino communities, since the 1950s, and is famous for coining the phrase, "Si, puede." Yes, we can. Her labor activism began with farm workers in Stockton, California, where she led the Agricultural Workers Association before co-founding the National Farm Workers Association, which was renamed United Farm Workers in 1966. In her years as an activist, Huerta has fought for voting rights, higher wages, and better working conditions for low-income workers. Even in her old age, she's become a powerful voice for the voiceless as an activist, speaker, and icon. Number 5. Marie Curie. The first ever female winner of the Nobel Prize, Marie Curie discovered the elements of polonium and radium, coined the term radioactivity, and was the winner of numerous academic and scientific distinctions over the course of her distinguished career. A noted humanitarian, Curie also used her scientific discoveries to help deliver life-saving electromagnetic radiation techniques to French hospitals during World War I. During that time, she opened a training program at the Radium Institute that helped get other women involved in the response effort during the war. Number 6. Margaret Bourke-White. Known for her deeply moving portraits, Margaret Bourke-White was the first female documentary photographer to be credited for working with the U.S. Army, paving the way for later generations of female war photojournalists that included Vietnam War photographers Dickie Chappelle and Catherine Leroy. Working alongside U.S. military units in World War II for Life magazine, Bourke-White did not just capture scenes from the war, but also brought to light the atrocities committed by Nazis at concentration camps in Germany. Number 7. Sandra Day O'Connor. The notorious Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg might not be where she is today if it were not for the groundwork laid by Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to serve as a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. O'Connor graduated high school at age 16, and later studied at Stanford University where she graduated near the top of her class. She was nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1981 by U.S. President Ronald Reagan and served until 2006, a quarter of a century later. In her time on the bench, O'Connor served as the swing vote on major cases, including Mississippi University for Women v. Hogan, when she voted that men should be allowed to attend nursing schools. Number 8. Berta Cáceres. An environmental activist in Honduras, activist Berta Cáceres was murdered in her own home in an ongoing battle being waged between environmentalists and land developers in Central America. Cáceres, who was 45 when she was killed, dedicated her life to fighting for the protection of the Gualcarque River, a critical food and water resource for the indigenous Lenca population that was threatened by damming, mining, and logging projects. Cáceres founded the Civic Council of Popular and Indigenous Organizations of Honduras, COPIN, which is now led by her daughter Bertha Zuniga, who has also faced armed threats for her environmental activism. Cáceres was one of more than 120 activists killed in Honduras since a right-wing coup toppled democratically elected President Manuel Zelaya in 2009. Thanks to the geeks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Major companies have been giving it their all for women rights, with McDonald's flipping their arches from an M to a W.